So good morning, everyone. My name's Paul Holmes-Higgin, Chief Product Officer at Alfresco. As most of you will know, we released version 4.2 of Alfresco 2 weeks ago. How many people have downloaded and used it already? Okay, some. It's super cool, isn't it? Yeah. It's actually the simplest version of Alfresco ever to use, both for the users and for administrators. Now even I can set up an authentication chain or set up a cluster or anything like that. It is phenomenally simple to use. However, it is also the smartest version of Alfresco we've ever done. There's some capabilities and technologies in there that no one else has. Hybrid workflow, this is awesome, unbelievable stuff. And we're very proud of what we've been doing with this particular release. And the guys are going to take us through this. The product management, product marketing team are going to show us some of the features there. I do want to acknowledge the engineering team. They're really proud of what they've done here. It is the fastest, most scalable version of Alfresco ever. And I can say that with confidence because I've been with Alfresco forever. Continue to be with Alfresco forever as well. So what I've asked the guys to do is actually take us through some of these new features and capabilities and just to explain a lot of the capabilities that are there and also give us a bit of a head up as to what's going to be coming next. So what I'm going to do is ask if the team can sort of come up and take us through this. So Paul, I mean, how are you going to take people through 4.2? There's a lot there.
There's a lot there. Good morning, everybody. My name is Paul Hampton, Director of Product Marketing here at Alfresco. And as Paul said, we've just launched 4.2 of Alfresco One. Lots of new features. And when we were asked to do a product section, we thought, well, what could we do? Should we get slides up here with bullet points and walk you through all the new features with screenshots and do that? We thought that not that interesting, a little bit boring. So what we try and do is actually show a demo. We do a demo that actually included all of the Alfresco products. So Alfresco One, looking at Alfresco One 4.2, we'd include some Alfresco Mobile. We'd also look at the desktop sync. How could users work on their desktop and synchronize that content back up into into Alfresco to make it under control. We've included Alfresco Workdesk, one of the new products that we brought out this year, and then also the hybrid ECM. How could we use the cloud and to collaborate and work together? And we wanted to do all that working in harmony. So we had to think of a theme for what we were going to do. So we thought, well, should we do a mortgage approval process? So taking mortgage documents through and reviewing those and getting a mortgage. And we thought, no, it's important, but no, we're not going to do that. Same with insurance claims. We could do the insurance claim and go through and do that. Or even contract review and approval. Very important processes within your organization, but again, people have done those in the past. So we were started Summit in Barcelona. So we got to thinking of how could we theme this around Barcelona? So what's Barcelona? What's Spain famous for? The first one of those is tapas. Could we put together a demo around content management that was based on tapas? And we tried hard, but we just couldn't think of a theme that was actually going to work content management in there. Then we thought about, okay, Gaudi, very famous in Barcelona. We could do something around the cathedral, and we struggled with that one as well. And then we thought that we liked this one. We thought beaches. How can we do something around the beaches, the fantastic beaches within Barcelona? But we thought no. And then we thought, well, actually, there's something that the Spanish are very, very passionate about. It's football. So we thought, how can we put together a project around football to show all those capabilities of Alfresco One and do a demo to show that? Now, just a little bit to clarify here, when I talk about football, I mean football and not football. And we were a little bit worried because we did this demo in Barcelona, and as you can imagine, a European audience that understood football. And so we thought, well, bringing it to Boston, possibly soccer's not that well known over here. So we looked on the web and we thought, what can we get an educational video that shows the difference between football and football? So Now, one of the players that they mentioned in that video clip is this gentleman here, Gareth Bale. He's from Wales, which is another country in England, or in the UK. But during the summer, he became the most expensive football player in the world. He was bought by Real Madrid. Now, I've tried to understand how the transfer mechanism works with American sports. But in soccer, people buy his contract. So he was with Tottenham Hotspurs, and Real Madrid paid 124 million for his contract just to get him to come and play for them. On top of that, then, they've got to pay him another 25 million a year just to kick a ball around a piece of grass. So we thought, well, how could Real Madrid use Alfresco One to complete that transfer process? It's a complex process. There's lots of people involved. There's all the people inside Real Madrid that are thinking about it makes sense to buy this player. There's the people in Tottenham Hotspurs that are actually selling him as a player. There's his agent. There's Gareth Bale, the player. And then there's medical examinations he has to go through to make sure that he's fit. There's lots of documents that change hands as part of this process. People want to access those on different devices. And, of course, we're going to include some on-premise and some cloud within that. But this process is applicable to anything. So think about this as your favorite basketball player, your favorite American football player, or your favorite baseball player. Just think about the transfer process, about how they would move between clubs. Now, we've recorded the video on the basis that we've been to events in the past and we relied on hotel Wi-Fi. And there's nothing worse than finding out that everybody in the room has used up the Wi-Fi bandwidth, tweeting and checking emails and what have you. So what we have is a whole series of video snapshots as we walk through this process. And what I'm going to do is invite up various members of the product management team to actually walk us through some of those. We're going to start off with a gentleman called Jose. Now, Jose is the Director General at Real Madrid. And he's there trying to grow the business, trying to make money for Real Madrid. And he works on his desktop. So he's a financial guy. He's looking at spreadsheets. He's trying to understand what the implications are of buying this player. How much am I going to have to pay for him? How much am I going to pay him each month? More importantly, he's going to work out how much money he can make by buying this player. There's a huge merchandising opportunity when you have these new players. Beckham, during his life as a football player, apparently he sold $1.5 billion worth of football shirts. So it's not only how much am I going to pay for this player, but how much am I actually then going to recoup on my investment. So we're going to start off the video, and here he is. He's working on his desktop. He's got lots of different files, so different letters he's working on, different documents. And he's got a number of different spreadsheets. As I said, he's a financial guy, so he's working on these different spreadsheets. He's going to open one of these up, and he's just going to go through some of these numbers. Imagine that he's away from the office. Possibly he's on one of those 3-hour lunches that the Spanish seem to have. He's down there having that tapas, and he's thinking, no, I'll just modify these numbers. So he's working on his laptop, checking the numbers, comparing the growth of his club against all the other clubs out there in Europe. And then he's putting the numbers in and thinking about, well, what am I going to have to pay the expenditure, and then what income can I get? And then he's looking at all these numbers. And at the end, he comes down and says, actually, there's a financial gain by buying Bale. So over a 5-year, 6-year period, we can make somewhere in the region of 25 million euros by buying this player. Plus, we get a really good football player into the bargain. So he saves that onto his desktop, comes back to the office, connects to the Wi-Fi in the office, and then what he's going to do now is synchronize those documents using the desktop sync capability. We're showing it actually running here, but typically this just runs in the background and then just synchronizes your content up into Alfresco behind the scenes, so you don't have to worry about it. But again, he's now syncing those files up. That's taking all those files that he was working on and making them available in Alfresco. Of course, if anybody changed any of those, all those changes will be synced down. Here's the new user interface. And I want to highlight some of these features. So I'm just going to go back. as Paul said, we've tried to make Alfresco easier to use. Now, one of the areas up here is My Files. So often people just want to start working on a piece of content and they don't know where to put it. They don't want to create a site and have to go through all that overhead. So we've created this My Files area. So now a user can just put their documents in there and start working on them. It's their own little area where they can work on content. Shared files is just a scratch area where you can share files. I like this idea of the recent sites. Again, when you're working on projects, typically you're going to be visiting the same sites on an ongoing basis. Alfresco now remembers the last few sites that you've worked on. So rather than you having to remember where those sites were, they're automatically added to your list. So again, all of the capability you used to have in Alfresco is still there. It's just on pull down from here. So here we can see all those documents he was working on his desktop. Here we can see the financials. Another nice feature is the ability to add custom metadata into these views. So we can see Gareth Bale's a Welsh player, and we can see the status of this document. So again, we're exposing that through the user interface. Now, he's worked on this, and he now wants to start the process of buying Gareth Bale as a player. So this is the site they use for managing all their transfers. We can see that things he can do. We're going to go to the transfer files, and they've got completed transfers, failed, and these are the players that they're looking at buying. So what he's going to do now is create a new folder to start managing all the documents associated with Gareth Bale. Another nice feature is the ability to have folder templates. A lot of time, you repeat the same process over and over again. When I launch a product, I have a number of things that I need to do. Well, what we have now is I can build that into a template. So I create that folder template, and any documents that come out, any folders that come out as part of that, any security models are part of that, any rules and actions are all associated with that folder template. So here we've now got, it's created a contract, it's created a medical examination document, and it's created a whole series of publicity folders where we're going to start publicizing the fact that we bought Gareth Bale. I'm now going to move this from my files. So again, this is my private area. I want to make people aware it's there, so I'm going to move it to the Gareth Bale folder. So here's my financial model that I was working on. Next thing I want to do is upload a video, so I'm just going to grab that and drop it into the folder. And now what I want to do is start a workflow. So I think this is a great idea to buy Gareth Bale. Financially, it makes sense. So I'm going to send this now to the president for him to review this, to understand and make a decision whether we should start processing the transfer request. So we just do a normal workflow, filling some details. It's a high priority task. I want this done quickly. I'm going to send it to Florentino, who's the president of Real Madrid. And I'm going to add another document. So I'm going to send him the financials, but I'm also going to send him that video so that he can actually see Gareth Bale in action. And then he can make a decision whether we should progress this any further. So I've finished that first part, and I'd now like to invite Marc up, who's going to take us through the next stage.
Thank you, Rosé. I appreciate that. You like to spend my money, and I'm actually on the road, and I have a lot of things to do. But before we spend was $100 million, I definitely need to check a few things. I need to review the files that you sent me. I need to look at the idea and basically, give my approval. I'm on the road all the time. I'm in my jet. I'm going to Madrid. I'm going to London. I'm going to Wales sometime. And I need to have access to all those documents. I guess I'll just take the, there we go. Thank you very much. So I've got my iPad with me all the time. I could have my Android device, my Android phone, my iPhone, and I guess I need to start this. Oh, it started. Perfect. Excellent. And so I've received the tasks that Jose sent me. It's on my iPad. I go in my task area. I can see that I've got a new assignment. Right now, I'm not too busy. That's good. So I'm going to have time to look at the documentation that I've received. I can look at the movie. I can receive images. There's ways to preview all those documents right on the iPad. I'm liking what I'm seeing. Obviously, there's a lot of crowd here. And when I'm thinking about T-shirt sales, obviously, I want to see a lot of smiles and people cheering. That's looking pretty good. I think this is something that could bring some good crowds into the stadium. So let's look at the figures. And on the iPad and on the Android device, I have ways to preview all kinds of documents, obviously spreadsheets, Word documents. I have ways to modify them, but in this case, I think I have no questions. I don't really have any modifications to make. So I'm going to likely approve this potential revenue for Madrid here. I can enter comments, which will all go back and be synchronized back to the Alfresco repository as and be accessible to all of the members of this workflow. So I'm quite happy about this, and I would like to go ahead. So I'm inputting a comment. This is a pretty simple workflow. I'm going to simply approve this document, and that should be done with a single button. So when I close the spreadsheet, I can go right into the task and approve this document. That automatically goes back to the Alfresco repository. And the next part of the process will take place, and I think Manuel, our legal guy, is going to review those documents and see if it's all in order. Manuel?
Thank you. Okay, so the part I'm playing is Manuel. I'm the head of legal, and what I need to do is actually work on the contract. So I'm not particularly interested in the collaboration stuff and these fancy tablets and everything. I'm just interested in working on the documents and getting my job done as quickly and as easily as possible. So I actually have an interface that's been tailored exactly to me and the content that I want to work on. So here we can see that we have a link on the top of the toolbar here that links us to the player files. And this is a specific view that organizes the player files. Can you pause that?
Yeah.
Maybe just take it back a step. So that's a specific view that's been tailored to me. So here we can see we have player files, and then we have Gareth Bale. If we drill into that, we have contracts and medical records. I can click on the contract, and it will just open directly there, and I can work on it and edit it and make my updates. Now, this contract was created from the template earlier. So I've got a different view of exactly the same source content that's been tailored for me. I make my edits and my updates and save it away again. So literally in 3 clicks, I've gone into the contract, edit it, save it, and then I can go back to my contracts view and update the statuses of that document now I've finished working on it. So here we have the contract. If I go into another view that actually pulls all of the contracts together in a single place, I can see all the draft contracts I'm working on. Just go to the drop down there, change it from being draft, and mark that as being ready for review. And that will update the status for me automatically. I'll just quickly do a check by doing a search for Gareth Bale, and I'll see the documents. And from that dedicated search view, I can verify that it's gone to the right stage in the approval process, and it will just move on. So very quickly, very simply, very easily, I can work on that document and move it through the process and move it on to the next stage.
Thank you, Manuel. So we now move to the next stage, and we're going to use the cloud. So Jose's now got his contract. That's all completed. He needs to send that to Tottenham Hotspurs for them to look at, negotiate, and what have you. The other thing he needs to do is, and I should have changed this, because apparently a medical examiner in the US means somebody that looks, once you passed away, that they. So imagine that says doctor. Oh, 2 countries separated by the same language. Anyway, so Jane Smith is going to come in, and we're going to use the cloud in 2 ways. So for the contract, I'm actually going to sync it to the cloud. So I'm just going to do exactly like you can in 4.1. I'm going to take my contract and sync that out to the cloud. But for Jane, I'm actually going to use workflow, use a hybrid workflow, one of those new features that came in as part of 4.2. And now I can start a business process on-premise and then allocate that task to somebody out in the cloud, get them to complete that, and then bring that document back on-premise. So log back in as Jose. I'm going to find my Gareth Bale contract. So remember, this is the template contract that we created as part of that folder. We're now going to, Mike's actually worked on it, put it into draft. We're now going to synchronize that out to the cloud. So we're just going to synchronize that to a secure site in the cloud. And top hand corner, you can see we've now that's synchronized out. I've also got a medical examination document. Again, it's a template that got created when we created the site. And here I'm going to start using a workflow. And I'm going to use a cloud-based workflow. So this is going to go off and route this document to somebody in the cloud and ask them to complete this. So I just type in some instructions. We can see that it's a simple cloud task. I can say when I need this to be done. Again, I want this to be done quite quickly. High priority. And now I'm going to say where I want that document to be synced as part of the workflow. So again, I'm going to put it in the same folder. We're keeping everything else for Gareth Bale. And now I'm going to assign the assignee. And the assignee now isn't somebody that works inside the organization. We're going to find Jane. It's going to find Jane Smith. And she's our doctor. So we're just going to transfer that and start a workflow and route that document to her. I can also say what I want to happen at the end of the process. In this particular case, I don't want that document left on the cloud, so I've said delete it when she completes her task, which will remove it from the cloud, and I'll only have a copy on premise. Jane Smith logs in. She gets allocated a task in the cloud. She can see the copy of the document, so she opens that up. She's done the examination. She's confirmed that Gareth Bale's fit and healthy, hasn't got a wooden leg. So she goes through. She's going to use Google Docs to edit this. She doesn't have to download it to her laptop. She just opens it in Google Docs and just goes through and completes the medical examination form. And then she just saves that and creates a new version in the cloud. Adds in some content. And then she goes back to her task and says, I'm done. So I'm just going to come in here, type in some comments to let people know that I've completed my task, and then hit the task done button. So remember, she's now working in the cloud. She has no connection to the Alfresco that Real Madrid are using on premise. But she can now communicate the fact that she's completed her part of the process and have that document and everything flow back. Jose now is on premise, gets notification that the task's been completed. He can view the medical examination form. So here we can see it's been completed. It's exactly the same one that she edited with inside Google Docs. He's happy with that. We've agreed the contract. So everything's in place now to basically buy Gareth Bale. So now we hand back over to Manuel.
So once again, as the head of legal, I'm going to log into my application to just finalize the two outstanding documents that we've been working on here. So if we move on to the video, again, I'm going into my player files area, into the Gareth Bale folder. I have the medical record that's just been edited on Google Docs in the cloud. I can open it here and just review it and check that all the information is there and it's all present and correct. I happen not to use Google Docs, so it's exactly the same document, but I can work on this using Word. So we're flipping between the two different environments here and doing so seamlessly. We'll go to the approval status drop-down, change that from being draft to being approved, so I'm improving the medical record. And then we're just going to finalize the contract as well. So in the same Gareth Bale area, we can go to the contract, change its status from being in review to approved. If we go down to the contracts, we'll see a consolidated list of all of the player contracts. We can see Gareth Bale is now there in the right location with the approved label associated with it. And equally for medical records, I've got a different view where I've got a consolidated list of the medical records. And again, we can see his medical record listed there and approved. And it's really that simple. I've just gone through, updated the status, and I'm done. And we've completed those documents and put it all through that approval process, mixing with the cloud, different editing environments, and different views based on the different roles that people are performing.
So we've completed the transfer. We've signed Gareth Bale. Gareth Bale's gone through all the publicity. Now Carlos comes in. Remember that we want to make money from Gareth Bale. We actually want to sell those new shirts. So Carlos works for the marketing department, and he wants to let all those fans, all the Real Madrid fans, both in Spain and around the world, know that we have a new player. And he's going to use Alfresco to actually publicize some of this information. So he logs in. He's going to go to that same Gareth Bale site. As we've been going through the process, we've been taking photographs of Gareth Bale. We've got some video. So down here, we've got a nice little video of Gareth Bale going through the process of signing with the manager. And there's always that where they lead him out onto the football pitch and he kicks a ball into the crowd and all that stuff. So he's going to send that out to the Real Madrid YouTube channel. Sending out there. He's also going to send out a Twitter message and just say that great new video about Gareth Bale signing. And it's going to include a link to that YouTube channel as part of that publish process. So he's now sent that video out. It's been published. To remind himself that he's published that, he's actually going to add a tag to this. So he's going to come down here and just say add a tag, and I'm just going to select YouTube. Let's just remind myself that I've published that to YouTube. I've also got some images of Gareth Bale, and what we're going to show you here is some of the new views with inside Alfresco 4.2. So if I click on my images, here we can see all the photographs of Gareth Bale. That's our standard view, but I can also have a look at that via this grid view, where I can see those, or I can go down and have a look at a film strip view. We're showing it here with photographs, but it's really good for documents because often you recognize a document by its front cover. So you can quickly slip through the documents in a folder and say, oh yeah, that's the one I want, and then open it up to review it. I like this photograph, Gareth Bale with his family and El Presidente all signing the contract. So we're going to publish that one to our Flickr channel. I'm going to come down here now, select the Flickr channel. Again, I'm going to issue a Twitter message around this, send it out so that all the people that follow Real Madrid will see that there's a new photograph of Gareth Bale, and they can see the new football shirt and think about buying one with Gareth Bale's name on the back. So we've published that. And again, just to remind myself, I'm just going to add a tag to that to say that I've published this to Flickr. Now we just change our view, we can see that that tag's been added to the document. We can see it's been published and what have you. So that was a walkthrough of a combined demo of Alfresco One, Alfresco Mobile, Desktop Sync, Workdesk, and Hybrid ECM. But we were also showing you one other thing as part of that demo. In fact, the main thing that we wanted to show you was something completely different. That was an Alfresco records management demo. The whole purpose of that demo was to show you how all those people were creating important documents, documents that needed to be managed and have an extra level of control and flow into a file plan. But none of those users changed the way they worked. They just looked at contracts and processed contracts, published information out to social media channels. But all of that content was being declared as records in the background. And here we've got a demo, a video that just shows how this was happening. So if we go to the records management site, we can have a look at the file plan. I've got an HR category. I'm going to open up the category. I've got a team players records, and I've organized that by year. And if I come down here, there's a Gareth Bale folder. Nobody created that. Alfresco did that automatically. And we can see that the contract and the medical examination document have both been added as records as part of that. If I go down further, I can see the marketing side. So I've got social media posts. Companies are worried about how you manage social media from a records point of view. Well, when that Carlos published those videos, published those photographs, they automatically became records within the file plan. And again, we can see the video and the photograph. So behind all this, we've used rules and actions to identify when things need to be declared as records. It takes the onus away from the end user and automates records, which means you're going to get more compliance. So we go inside the Gareth Bale folder, and we have a look at publicity. Down here, I've got a rule on the photographs area. And what I've said is when somebody's tagged that as being published to Flickr, declare it as a record. So all that Carlos had to do was say, I've published this to Flickr, and that automatically said, this is now a record, put it in the file plan, and flow it into the right place in the file plan. Similarly, with the contract, I've got a rule here that says, if I've got a contract that's approved, declare it as a record. Now remember, Mike, or Manuel, declared that as approved as part of Workdesk. So I can be using Workdesk and still driving the capture of records within the system. Now if we go to the records management site, how did Alfresco know where to put those in the file plan? Again, I've got some rules in here, so I've got one for the contracts. And I can use the metadata to drive this. So if it's a contract and it has an aspect of player, I know this is a player's contract, and therefore I'm going to put it into the file plan. And I can use substitution to create that folder and automatically flow that information in there. Same for YouTube and same for Flickr. So yesterday, Doug talked about simple plus smart. Alfresco Records Management is a good example of that. From an end user's point of view, it's simple. I just do my job. My job is to look at contracts, review contracts, approve contracts. My job is to publish information out to my social media channels, via Flickr, via YouTube, whatever it happens to be. The smart bit is what happens behind the scenes. We now know when things need to be records and can automatically file them. And we have the intelligence to use that extended metadata to understand where we should be putting things within the file plan. And that's, I think, what you'll see is from Alfresco driving its product direction for that simple plus smart. Having all that smart capability in the server, but not having to put the onus on the end user and making it simple for the end user. What I'd like to do now is hand over to John Iball, who'll talk about where we're going next and how you can see that simple plus smart coming through.
Thanks, Paul. Good morning, everyone. So you've seen a demonstration of some of the great new functionality in Alfresco 4.2. We're really excited about it, and we hope you will be too. But what about the future? What's coming up in the next 12 months or so? What's on the roadmap? Well, before we look at that, let's consider what drives the roadmap. And the answer is everyone in this room. Because it's only when we really understand that the problems you're facing that we can design and produce great solutions, great products to help you solve them. So we're going to be engaging much more closely with our partners and with our customers on a much more regular basis so we can get a better understanding of how you're using Alfresco and how you could be using Alfresco. So, simple plus smart. I think this is a great graphic. It really summarizes Alfresco's unique proposition and how we're approaching the market. But how does that relate to the product? Well, I think we've got smart pretty well covered. We've got a very powerful, quite complex, very richly functioned ECM solution. Our challenge now is to make it simple. Simple for the end users to consume the content, to use it. Simple for the business analysts to design and create applications that solves a particular business problem. So, how are we going to do that? Well, the first thing I'd like to say is that product development is not just about bright, new, shiny features. We also need to look about what we already have. With Alfresco, we have a great product. We have some very cool features. You've just seen some of them. Some of them are good, but we can make them great. Some of them are not so good. We need to make them better. So we're going to have a continuous improvement plan. We're going to be looking at these features. Things like sharing content via email. It's just too difficult. We've made a big step forward in 4.2, but there's more we can do. Things like sites administration, AWS support. We've got a long list of things we need to address. Some of these items are quite small. In the past, they may have been overlooked in favor of the big, shiny, new thing. But we're going to focus on these for the next release. But don't worry, because there are some bright, new, shiny features coming up. And these are the roadmap themes for the next 12 months or so. And you'll see there's a common thread running through all of these, and not surprisingly, it's simple plus smart. So first thing is simple plus smart for the end user, the people that are using Alfresco day in, day out to help them do their job. First thing we're going to deliver is desktop sync. You've already seen a demonstration of that. We've had it in community for a while, but in Q1 next year, we'll be delivering an enterprise-grade version. Just make it much easier for the end user to collaborate using Alfresco. Then we're going to give them improved search capabilities. Really allow them to get the content they need when they need it. This will include items like faceted search, allow them to dig deeper into result sets based on metadata filtering. But we're also going to expand the search results through contextual search, giving them items that they may be interested based on the last search they did. So we looked after the user. What about the business analyst, the line of business manager, who's got a business problem he wants to solve? He knows how to solve it. He knows it inside out. But he doesn't necessarily have the IT resource. He doesn't have the technical skills himself to create the application he needs. So we're going to give him some content application tools. These tools will allow him to design custom content models, to produce data forms, to design processes, all without having to resort to XML and Java, just using simple GUIs. We're also going to give him some reporting and analytics, so he can tell what sort of content he has, how much of it he has, who the power users are, what they're using the content for, where the bottlenecks are in the processes. And then we've got Workdesk. We get great feedback from our customers, from our partners, saying how easy Workdesk makes Alfresco. So we're going to continue to develop its capabilities, make it even easier, even more powerful. Then there's integration. How can we make it easier for our end users who are using items like applications like SharePoint, like the Office Suite? So we're going to produce better integration around, first of all, SharePoint. We have to coexist with it. We're not going to replace SharePoint. But we're going to allow users to access Alfresco repositories, load up content, edit it, and store it back into Alfresco from within a SharePoint portal. Similarly, with the wider Office Suite, with users using Word, they'll be able to open up a document held in Alfresco, edit it, add metadata, check it back into Alfresco without leaving their normal working environment. From within Outlook, you'll be able to navigate Alfresco document repository, drag and drop documents, email attachments into that without leaving Outlook. So we're making it easier for the end users to engage with Alfresco without changing the way they work. Then we want to make Alfresco simple and smart for everyone. And that means accessibility. Yes, it will mean that we're going to be able to really capitalize on the great position we already have in the public sector and the federal government. The areas that mandate accessibility, 508 compliance, for example. But we're also going to do it because it's the right thing to do. We want to make Alfresco accessible to everyone, regardless of their physical capability. Now, it's a big task. We're not going to make the whole product accessible, even on a year's time frame. But by the next release, it will be significantly better than it is now. Significant improvements. And finally, we've got mobile. We've already got a great mobile story. We provide a very rich user experience. We support a lot of mobile devices. We've got great applications. But our customers are saying they want more. They want to be able to control and secure the content they're delivering to the mobile estate. So we're going to provide a set of tools to allow them to do that. Decide who has access to what content via mobile. To secure that content, decide how the content's provided to different devices. So, for the next release, we've developed all of these themes. Where does that leave Alfresco from a product perspective? Well, let's go back to this great tree graphic and see how the product fits in with this. I was going to say from the ground up, but it's really from under the ground up. We've got the ECM core, the core functionality. This is providing the root system, giving the strength to the product. And through continuous improvement, we're going to be continuing to develop that, improving it, making it stronger, making the tree better. And then we've got the way we expose that content. First of all, through the open source platform. Now, I've only been with Alfresco for a couple of months, but I've been speaking to customers. I've been amazed at how important open source is to them. They want to future-proof their content management. They don't want to be tied into proprietary software. They want to have the ability to customize it exactly the way they want it. And of course, they can do that in Alfresco. Going back to the tree analogy, we're giving them access to the tree's DNA, Alfresco's DNA. You know, they can genetically modify what we have to produce exactly what they need. The downside, of course, is that you need to be a genetic engineer to do that, and you better watch out exactly what you do. So we've got partners, we've got customers with great IT departments who can do this. And it's led to a huge variety of applications for Alfresco, much more than we probably appreciate. But we can make that a bit easier. So we've got Workdesk. This is perhaps, if you like, more like a tree surgeon. Still need a reasonably sophisticated skill set, but it gives you the way to customize the way your content tree looks. On top of that, we're going to be introducing these content application tools. Now, this is really the tools for your advanced gardener, I guess, your business analyst. I don't know if it translates to American English, but secateurs, maybe chainsaws. Just configure the way the tree works for you. Develop the applications you need to solve your business problems. We're going to continue to develop Share. For a lot of people, a lot of our customers, this is all they need. Great collaboration tool, great document management tool. And by adding improved search, some of the features you've seen today, Share will become stronger. On top of that, from the collaboration perspective, we've got desktop sync. Again, you've seen a demonstration of that. Makes it much easier for our end users to collaborate using Alfresco. And finally, improving the mobile experience for the end users and for the mobile administrators. So we've got a very, very powerful, a very flexible, and a really unique proposition. We're in a great place. But as I said before, we need your help to take us further, take us to the next stage. So please come and talk to us. The product management team is manning the product showcase booth downstairs. I was going to say we want to talk to you. We need to talk to you. We need you to tell us where we should be going, to help us drive the product development in the direction you need us to. So please come and talk to us. So thank you for your time this morning. I hope you've enjoyed what you've seen, and enjoy the rest of the summit. Thank you very much.